Welcome to Join with Danny. I'm Danny, and today we're going to draw this really cute robot dog. Okay, now just a reminder, try holding your pencil towards the center, and much more importantly, hold on to your pencil really loosely. Okay, let's start on this dog. Okay, so as always, we're going to start with larger shapes, and here he's got this nice, in fact, he's got two ovals. A slightly smaller oval for his head and a larger one for his body. So let's start with its head. Okay, now notice the angle of this oval as well. Okay, so we're gonna draw that, which should look kind of like this. Kind of like a bean. You know, so the oval is the general shape, and the more specific shape of the oval, in this case, is a bean. Okay, let's go ahead and draw its ears. And what we're going to do is I'm going to start right back here. We can see how pretty much the back edge of his ear aligns with the back of his head. So I'm just going to go ahead and extend this line up like this. And notice how though his ears are triangular, but they're not straight. They're on a curve. So we're going to curve it around like this. And feel free to make your ears larger or smaller. He would look really awesome with larger ears if you wanted to draw larger ears. Okay, so let's go ahead and draw the other ear. So whenever you draw something that's on the other side, you can always draw that slightly smaller. You certainly don't want to draw it larger unless your style is, focuses on what's called skewed perspective. Then you could, draw something farther away larger if you wanted to. But if you're not dealing with skewed perspective, you always want that thing at least the same size, if not slightly smaller. Okay, now let's go ahead and draw the inside of his ears. So we're going to start here and go straight up like this. Now, if you want to draw the other side of its ear, you can go down and complete that. So this would be on the same curve as the front edge, but make sure that, see, from here to here is much skinnier than it is from there to there. Okay, so now let's go ahead and erase this part. So, looks like that. Now let's do it on the other ear. So we're going to follow the same curve we have in the back. So see how wide it is from here to here. And then if I wanted to go ahead and draw the front edge of that, I'm going to go down and make sure this part's much skinnier, like that. Okay, now let's go ahead and draw its eyes. He's got cute, like small, medium-sized eyes, which you could make much larger if you wanted to. He would look really cute with larger eyes. Anyway, his eyes are circles, and they're right on the side of each other. So I'm going to erase the line through that eye that's farther away. Okay, let's go ahead and do his eyebrows. And feel free to change the shape of his eyebrows if you want to. Here I've drawn them as soft triangles, but you could make them another shape if you wanted to. Okay, now I'm going to erase the lines through that other eyebrow. Okay, now let's go ahead and work on his eyeballs. I'm going to have this puppy looking more towards us, more in this direction. And I'm going to draw his eyeballs a little bit larger inside as well. So feel free to make changes and modifications if you want. Okay, now, like I addressed last week, so inside of this eyeball we have a pupil, which is always in the very center and always black. And then I'm going to draw another circle here, which is going to be the highlight. So look what happens when I fill in that pupil. So see how three-dimensional this eye looks versus that one? Let's do that over here. So we have a pupil that's in the very center. And then we're going to draw another circle just to the right, upper right of that pupil. And then I'm going to fill in that pupil. And when I do, look how three-dimensional that looks, particularly if I were to shade in the eyeball. The iris is what that's called. So irises are, most people's irises are blue or brown or hazel or something like that. So see how much more three-dimensional that looks with those things filled in. Okay, now let's go ahead and draw the nose. And the nose extends beyond this edge of the head, but it doesn't have to. So you can draw any kind of nose you want. In fact, you can draw a much smaller nose if you wanted to. He'd look really cute like that. Or even a larger nose. Okay, so got his nose drawn. So now let's go ahead and draw. Yeah, and feel free to make any kind of stylistic changes. For example, you could draw like a circle around one of his eyes, or even around both of his eyes. Maybe he's got a mask around his eyes and he's like a superhero dog. But yeah, so feel free to be creative and have a lot of fun. Okay, now let's go ahead and draw the, you know what I'm going to do? Is I'm going to go ahead and let's open up its mouth like it's going on here. So let's draw a line through the face like this, just a slightly curved line. And let's do that again right underneath that spot. Okay, now I'm going to work on this area. I'm going to take this line that's going this direction. I'm going to angle it up a little bit. You may or may not have to do this. Okay, now I'm going to get rid of some of my sketch marks. Okay, now we can see here that he's got this pretty sharp point underneath. So this is like a triangle now, a curved triangle. See the sharp point on the front edge of its face? So I can do one of several things with that. I'm going to get rid of mine by going like this. I'm just going to round it off. I'm going to round it off like this. And then at some point I'm going to merge this line with the existing line. See how I merge those together? Let me get rid of some of these extra lines so you can see it better, I hope. Okay, so now see what happens now is this is a little bit rounder at the bottom. So I'm going to now, well, we can see a little bit of the inside of its mouth. Let's do that here by going to the edge and extending a line inside like this. See? Now it's got a line extending from here to the really middle of its nose. It may not look like the middle because his head's turned in that direction. But if he were turned facing us, it would be in the middle of its nose. Okay, there we go. Now, I'm going to go ahead and make he's a robot dog, so let's go ahead and, he's sort of pieced together here, so let's go ahead and address that. A curved line here. Extend that to the bottom like that. Then he's got a couple of like little screws or whatever those things would be called. Okay, now let's go ahead and draw the body. So the body is an oval as well. And notice how it's not just a straight basic oval. So see how I've started with my line here? In fact, I'm going to make some adjustment probably as I look at this versus this. But we know the general shape is just an oval that's wider at the front than it is at the back. So sort of like this. Now, feel free to, for example, I tend to really like disproportionate things, and that simply means that I typically like to make the heads much larger than the body. So I think I'm going to shorten his body just a little bit to make it even more disproportionate. See, I'm going to shorten my body just a little bit. Oops. Okay, yeah, I'm going to go for that. Okay. Now let's draw these little screw things right there before we get to the legs. So we got one about here, which is, of course, they're both circles. And one about right here. Okay, now we've got sort of the inside part of those, which are both circles as well. Okay, and then we can see the front edge of both of these screws. So here I'm just indicating the front edge of each one. Okay, and then we've got this inside part. It goes like this. Okay, you know what I'm going to do on this one? See, he would look really cute with like spots. He could have this big spot on his back or something. So since I've got this business going on here on his face, I just thought I would add it to its body just to make him a little bit different from this little guy. Okay, now let's go ahead and draw the legs. Now notice how the part that's extending from this little screw thing that we just drew, it extends out this way. So see how if I align my pencil with the edge of my page and I go into the page, see how this pretty much aligns with the legs, the lower portion of the legs, but not this part that angles out. It angles out like that. Okay, so kind of like the screw that we drew, or the line through the middle of the screw. So let's go ahead and draw a little skinny rectangle that angles out like that. And we can erase a little bit of the screw. Let's do that on this leg. So this angles out this direction. Okay. Now let's draw the sort of rectangle that's maybe slightly wider at the bottom, and it is vertical, which means straight up and down. And it doesn't have to be exactly straight. In fact, mine has a little bit of a curve to it. So now I'm going to get ready to draw so notice how I drew this line at an angle, because I'm getting ready to draw his, what I call football shaped oval feet. In fact, let's draw the back one since we're here. See how it looks like a football? And then let's go ahead and draw his little toes, like that. And let's do the front ones. So once again, this is straighter, more vertical than this part. This part is more vertical than that part. Okay. Now I'm going to draw a slightly curved line to draw its feet, which are football shaped. Now, depending on the angle that you draw your dog, whether it's this dog or another dog, you know, it's got 4 legs, and you want to make sure that its feet are the 2 legs or feet that are on this side or on the same level or plane versus the 2 that are on the other side. So what we're going to do is we can draw a line from the bottom edge of the other foot, of the back foot, like this, and then we can also draw a line from the front foot. And what we're going to do is, and maybe I should have drawn both those lines at the same time, hopefully this is not confusing, but so we're going to use this higher line to make sure the other foot is resting on that line. Okay, so let me go ahead and draw this line through this part and this line through this part. So now, since we really can't see much of this skinnier part of his leg on the other side, I'm going to go ahead and start with this larger lower portion. So we can see how far away they are here. So I'll try to replicate that over on this drawing. So now we're going to again follow the same curve and get ready to draw the first foot. Now you want to make sure that this foot is on that line, and if it's slightly above that line, that's actually ideal because it is a little bit farther away. See? Now if we wanted to, we can show a little bit of this skinnier part over there if we wanted to. Or we can just let the larger, the lower part connect to the lower part of the body. Okay, now let's go ahead and work on the other foot. So this one, now we can get rid of this line, and that way we won't be confused. So now that line goes away, and now we know we want this foot resting on the same line as this one. Okay, so let's go ahead and work on the leg part. So you can kind of see the skinnier part of the leg over there, so we can address that. And then we've got this larger lower portion. And that, of course, should be either slightly skinnier than this one or the same size is fine as well. Okay, now let's go ahead and draw the football-shaped foot. Okay, now we can erase these lines, and hopefully you drew those lines really, really lightly because they were only guidelines. So now we want those guidelines to disappear. Okay, now let's see. I'm going to refine a few little areas before we draw the, oops, there we go. Okay. Okay, now let's go ahead and draw its tail. Let's draw its tail. Okay, so we're going to the back here and extend the line up. Now feel free to draw another kind of tail if you want to. Maybe your tail is going down. Maybe your tail is curved, sort of like in a knot, like a little pug's tail. I'm going to do my tail like this, so a long, skinny, curved triangle with lines through it. And let's see, let's go ahead and draw the shadow underneath. Okay, so we're going to start with underneath this foot, right underneath this foot, and I'm going to take a line to this front foot like this. Okay, now I'm going to extend just beyond the back like this. See how I curved around? So now I want to make sure that see this point, this part of the toe right here where this line meets this one, I'm going to extend the line from there. Now ideally, what I tell students many times is go ahead and draw this line through the feet and then erase it through the feet when you're finished, making sure that this top portion here aligns with the top portion here. I can see that mine pretty much does, so I'm not going to do that. Okay, now I'm going to finish out the shadow by curving around the front like this. And once again, you want to make sure that this top edge meets that top edge. And you can do that by simply drawing your line through the feet. And when you're finished, making sure they're aligned, you can erase the line through the feet. And once again, I can see that mine does, so I'll just leave it like that. And so now I'm just going to fill in my shadow with lines at this point. Now you can shade yours in or something like that if you wanted to. But anyway, that's our really cute, adorable robot puppy. So thanks for joining me today. If you have any questions about today's lesson, let me know in the comments below. And I will look forward to seeing you next week.